Today's episode of the WAC podcast is brought to you by Hercules Tires, the official tire of the Western Athletic Conference.
Welcome to the WAC podcast. I'm Kendra Sheehan, Eric Danner, and we have an incredible guest, Brian Thornton, the new commissioner, joining us here at the WAC office. What do you think of the office so far? How do you like Denver?
It's been great. Flew into Denver, I guess, 2 days ago, and it was 70 degrees. So that's a good thing. Certainly wasn't snow on the ground like I would have expected. Office has been good. It's been great to kind of get in here and start to get to know all the staff, and excited to work with everybody here.
Brian, it's been kind of a whirlwind, I would assume, the last couple of weeks. Once you were named commissioner, currently you're with the American Athletic Conference. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing at the American.
Yeah, for the last 13 or so months, I've been the associate commissioner for both men's and women's basketball at the American, which has been a great experience. Working with both of those sports at that conference has taught me a lot. It's been very hands-on. Spent a lot of time in scheduling, spent a lot of time working with TV, and just trying to build the basketball brand at that conference to be as good as possible. Last year, we had some great success. We had a Final Four team in Houston. We had an NIT champion in Memphis, and our women's basketball, we had two teams in the top 25. So it worked out pretty well last year.
Well, we're certainly excited to have you here. What drew you to the WAC initially? The
WAC, as a lot of people know, has a very storied history. It's been through many iterations over the last handful of years, but the name still resonates nationally. And it was a brand that I wanted to be a part of. The unique thing about the current schools they are in the WAC, but they're not necessarily have not necessarily been here for a long time. But the good thing about them is they seem to have all oars rowing in the same direction. All the institutions in our league, for the most part, are in fast growing areas of the country. They're kind of like that next generation of schools that, are kind of just waiting to take off. And, the goal is that those schools can provide the WAC with an opportunity to once again establish itself as one of the premier, if not the premier, mid-major conference west of the Mississippi.
Yeah, Brian, just back in January, we announced 4 new schools coming into the WAC, 5 new schools coming into the WAC, in fact. And we had the 4 new schools this year: Sam Houston, we had Stephen F. Austin, Lamar, and Abilene Christian, with Southern Utah coming the following year. Just this past week, another big announcement: University of the Incarnate Word joining the WAC starting in July. So right off the bat, Brian, a little administrative work to do, I guess, with that.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely a quick turnaround getting Incarnate Word into the fold, and it's something that we should all be excited about. Incarnate Word provides a lot of value for our league across the board. It helps us from a football standpoint. That's something that over the last year plus we've really wanted to engage in and make ourselves one of the premier FCS conferences in the country, and continue just to build our football brand into something that we'll see what it can become in the future. But what Incarnate Word does beyond that is it gives us another great market. The San Antonio market is a growing one. It's one of the biggest cities in the state of Texas and nationally. And I think that it's an area that's starved for great athletics. And Incarnate Word is kind of on that upswing, just like many of our other schools. They're an institution that's really growing, it's thriving, and they're putting the resources into making Incarnate Word a great member of the WAC.
And as the WAC continues to expand, what are some of your goals that you have coming in as a new commissioner?
I think it's just to continue to build on what's been here. The WAC has always, like I said, been a great name, but it's a new cast of characters. And with that new cast of characters, it's going to be a little bit of a journey. Trying to rebuild this league into something that is special, then we can all be proud of. The good thing about being a commissioner is that you're not in this by yourself. It's not solely my responsibility to make it the conference into whatever it can become. It's about the membership. It's about the staff. And most importantly, it's about providing an excellent experience for our student athletes.
Brian, you've already had an opportunity to go to a WAC championship. I got to see Kendra at the men's soccer championship at Grand Canyon last week, and got a taste of what it's like to go to a Grand Canyon basketball game.
Yeah, it was great. Spending some time in Phoenix was nice. It was nice to kind of just get out and start to, build relationships with the membership. That's something that's extremely important to me to do. Over the next coming months, I'll be out trying to get to know all of our institutions, meeting with some of their coaches, their athletic directors, presidents, just to start to build that rapport and build that relationship. And, getting an opportunity to go to Grand Canyon right away was a good deal. Their soccer facility is phenomenal, and they had a nice atmosphere for the soccer championships. And, we were fortunate to get multiple bids into the NCAA tournament, which is a testament to the strength of our soccer programs. But beyond that, spending some time at the basketball game was very unique. I've been to a lot of places, having played college basketball and coaching for 10 years. I've been in some great environments, but I'd be hard pressed to find one that was more raucous and ready to go than what they had at Grand Canyon.
I had my camera up. I went to the Tuesday opener and I just had my camera up and my jaw was like the whole time. It was so impressive. I loved the atmosphere there. And of course, you played basketball at Xavier and then you started your career at Vanderbilt. So you're a basketball-minded guy. We have 4 new teams that just joined the WAC for basketball, leveling up our WAC conference. What excites you most about basketball season coming up?
Well, I love basketball. Obviously that's been where I spent a lot of my career and just my history. And, obviously Grand Canyon is doing a fantastic job. They won the league last year, went to the NCAA tournament. So I know that they're continuing to build on what they have. They have a great new coach in Bryce Drew, who does a phenomenal job. But beyond that, we've also added some other schools with some great basketball pedigree as well. Stephen F. Austin has had tremendous success in recent years, and we're all familiar with what Abilene Christian did last year by knocking off Texas in the NCAA tournament. So I think that we have an opportunity from a basketball standpoint, and it goes beyond just those schools I've mentioned, but they can continue to build on what basketball is in this league and hopefully aspire to be in a conference that puts ourselves in position for, multi-bids and an opportunity to advance during March Madness.
Kendra mentioned you played basketball at Xavier and Vanderbilt as well, and spent 10 years in coaching. At what point did you kind of change direction and, you got into administration, and did you see yourself becoming a conference commissioner?
I wouldn't say that was necessarily my goal to become a conference commissioner. What I knew is that I wanted to have an impact on sports. I spent 10 years as a college coach, and it was a great experience, building relationships with young men and watching them grow from 18 to 22 and hopefully kind of coming out on it on the other side, better people and more prepared for life. But after doing that for 10 years, I realized that, I wanted to have a greater impact, more of a macro instead of a micro impact on college athletics. And at first it was basketball only. But as I spent more time working on basketball from a national standpoint at the NCAA and then later at the American, I realized that I wanted to have an impact or a hand in college athletics across the board. I became extremely interested in national issues and kind of the impact on student athletes as a whole. And so, this opportunity, the WAC kind of allows me to be part of that conversation. And again, whenever you're in college as a student athlete, you're going to spend 4 or 5 years there. And this could be the best 4 or 5 years of your life. I certainly enjoyed my time, but it's a finite amount of time. And the goal is to have a great experience, to make relationships, and to prepare yourself for the next 40.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have a lot more coverage on all our WAC sports on the next segment of the podcast. Stay with us.
Hercules Tires is the official tire of the Western Athletic Conference, and for over 65 years has been providing tires with unbeatable quality at an unmatched value. Whatever the vehicle and whatever the terrain, Hercules Tires invites you to ride on our strength. For a retailer near you, visit HerculesTires.com.
Welcome back to the WAC podcast. Kendra Sheehan, Eric Danner, and we are joined with Debbie Hendricks, who's going to be an analyst for this weekend WAC Volleyball Championship. Debbie, the standings have been pretty tight. Sam Houston just clinched the #1 overall seed. What excites you most when you're looking at these teams, the records, what they've done this season as we head into this tournament?
I tell you what, going from a 6-team tournament to an 8-team tournament was going to, provide a little more excitement in and of itself. But the quality of the teams and the level of competition, I think we're going to be looking at here, it's pretty exciting and maybe unprecedented in this tournament.
Debbie, we start things off with Sam Houston, Abilene Christian. We were just talking in our last segment about how close the teams are. Stephen F. Austin, a 6 seed, could have possibly been the 1 seed if everything would have broken right, and they wind up as a 6 seed having to face Chicago State in the first round. But Sam Houston playing Abilene Christian, this is a Abilene Christian team that kind of, I don't want to say snuck into the tournament, but was the last team to qualify. But this is a team that beat Sam Houston just a few weeks ago, and you had a chance to talk with both coaches yesterday about their upcoming matchup.
Well, it's interesting. We've got 2 teams in this tournament that have played each other twice, and we have 2 teams in this tournament, 2 matchups in this tournament that haven't played each other at all. So in this matchup, we have 2 teams that have split on the regular season, and they do know each other fairly well. And Abilene Christian just played extremely well on their home floor. They didn't even play at full strength as far as their player personnel. So I think getting Lindsay Toney back into the mix, she's second in the league in kills per set. I think that's big for Abilene Christian. Talking to Angela Mooney, she really feels like she's got a team that doesn't give up. So I think they're probably coming into this match believing they can win. They just did a couple of weeks ago. So, flip to our conversation with Brenda Gray. She seemed very composed. She did not seem too concerned about that loss at Abilene Christian, but she was concerned about the team raising their level of play, getting back to being a little bit more consistent. I think they're going to lean heavily on Ashley Lewis, their lone senior, to just make sure the rest of the team is ready to be consistent and play at the level they're capable of for this match.
Chicago State has been a storyline all season. They earned the 3 seed, and they had their most wins that they've had in 20 years, I think, just recently. I mean, they're a team that I think has shocked a lot of people.
They have, and they've got some incredible talent, starting with their outside attacker Feliz, and she's going to be one that the Lady Jacks are going to have to key on. They know that. And then you look at the way the Stephen F. Austin team plays. They win and lose based on their balance and their ability to get that first ball contact on the net and distribute the ball to a lot of different attackers. But interestingly enough, in our conversation with both coaches, even Coach Tripanov, he was talking about how much he would need balance in this match. They can't give every ball to Feliz, and they're looking at the best blocking team in the league. So he also was talking about how much they needed a good first ball. They had to be able to have some other players step up and put balls away, and he knows they need a big defensive effort on Thursday if they're going to win this match.
Debbie, we had a chance to talk with Mike Jordan, the longtime head coach at New Mexico State, Sam Atoa, the longtime coach at Utah Valley, and these teams have met for the WAC championship a few times. Now they're meeting in the first round, and we were talking about, a 2-7. This is not a typical 2-7 matchup.
It really isn't. I mean, this feels like it could be a 1-2. And I think both coaches in the conversation feel that way. When you look at Utah Valley, they did lose both of the regular season matches. Coach Atoa knows the saying, it's hard to beat a good team 3 times. And I think he's probably going to be hoping that's the case in this situation. But this might be the best match of the opening day of the tournament. I don't know. It's yet to be seen. But when you look at what New Mexico State, the Aggies are going to have to do to be successful, we know we're going to see a lot of Birdsell, but they're going to have to run a balanced offense. They're going to have that good first ball contact because they're playing a really good blocking team. And talking to Coach Jordan yesterday, he said we have to get past the block. And the way they're going to get past the block is by distributing the ball to a lot of different players. They have to get the middle attack involved. Leah Mosier had a great weekend blocking, but they're going to have to see some Leah Mosier attacking as well if they're going to get past that block, that tremendous block of Utah Valley. Now, I think the chink in the armor maybe for Utah Valley is their back row play, and Coach Atoa addressed that. He said they have to be better about making quick adjustments on defense and being consistent with those adjustments throughout the match. On the flip side, you are looking at a team with a player like Kazna Tanavasa, and they have other players who are definitely have the ability to put the ball away. So they'll rely on their defense, but they're also an offensive threat as well. So I think this one really lines up to be a great match.
New Mexico State hosting the tournament inside the Pan Am Center. Coming back from soccer, we were at GCU. That was the host team. They were in the championship. They had a huge crowd, big momentum boost for them. How important is it for this home team to have the crowd fill the Pan Am Center and act as a sixth man?
I think it's huge. And you know, all of these teams, they play in different types of gyms and arenas, but when you play in your own, it's the one you know the best. And yet what we were talking to the coaches yesterday, they flipped the script a little bit, because in the spring, it was Utah Valley who finished the regular season at home and then had the opportunity to host. That bode very well for them. And I think Coach Jordan is hoping the same thing. You know, they did get to play their last weekend at home. Now they get to host the tournament at home. I think they're hoping it'll have the same kind of impact for their team. But again, I think these are experienced teams that know how to play in any facility, and they'll show up.
Debbie, the last matchup of the first round that we haven't discussed is Grand Canyon UTRGV. Again, two teams that have had success in the tournament. Grand Canyon with a lot of talent on that team, and that'll be that 4-5 matchup. So that usually are the two closest teams. But again, you could make the case anywhere between 1 and 7 this year. But that Grand Canyon UTRGV, that could be a sneaky good 5-set type of match.
Oh, I think so. And you know, again, you're looking at two teams who have not seen each other. So I asked both coaches how they felt about that. Coach Nolan, Grand Canyon, he was like, I love to see a fresh face. You don't want to play. And I know as a coach, I felt the same way. I didn't want to see a team that I'd already played twice during the season. When you get to playoff time, they want to see a fresh team. Todd Lowry was a little bit more hesitant. He said he wasn't sure how he felt about it yet. But I do know they're also very different teams. And when you look at UTRGV, they're a little bit similar to Chicago State in the sense that they're very athletic, very offensive minded. They probably are going to be a little bit better when it comes to killing the ball, if they are able to get the ball out of Claire Mitchell's hands for Grand Canyon. She is such a tremendous setter. And the unique thing about her is that balls that would typically be out of system for other setters, she brings them in system. She has such good body control and gets to the ball so well. Even a pass that's 10, 12 feet off the net, she's still running system offense. So when we talked to Coach Lowry yesterday, he says we have to get them extremely out of system. And that means they're going to have to serve tough. That means they're going to have to put balls away early in the rallies and perhaps even attack Claire Mitchell when she's on the back row. So she's taking the first ball and can't set the second ball. But Tim Nolan, he really loves his team. He thinks that they pass, defend, and serve well, which are the most critical aspects of the game. He loves their grit. You know, besides Claire Mitchell, you've got another vet out there and Tegan DeFalco, who will be leading the passing and defense. So I think he feels confident coming into this matchup. But again, we've got really different teams. And I think in all of these matches, it's kind of a resounding theme. The teams that can pass and serve the best are typically winning these matches.
Well, it's going to take 3 wins to win that title. Real quick, how tough is it to bring that same intensity match after match in such a short time frame?
You know what? That's a great question. And a few teams find that. To be really honest with you, you often see there might be a match where they play really well and another match where they just have to grind out a win and kind of grit through the match. Rarely do you see 3 really spot on level type matches. But I do think it helps if you're coming in with any kind of momentum. So I think the teams that maybe have gotten hot late, Coach Lowry talked about, he felt like his team was as good on defense right now and as good attacking the ball as they have been all season. Well, I would guess they're coming in with a lot of confidence. I think that helps. Perhaps if you have taken a loss late and you found a way to kind of use that to fuel your team and regroup and maybe refocus yourselves, that can be something. But you have to roll in with a little bit of momentum. And then you've just got to find a way to put a pretty complete match together 3 nights in a row.
So Debbie, we're certainly looking forward to it. People can watch that on ESPN Plus. It'll be on the WDN internationally if you can't get ESPN Plus in the United States. And so looking forward to some great matches this week and looking forward to seeing you in Las Cruces, Debbie.
I'm looking forward to seeing you guys as well. And I think it's going to be a tremendous weekend of volleyball. I can't wait.
Thanks, Debbie.
That is Debbie Hendricks, who's going to be our analyst for the WAC volleyball tournament. I also want to thank our other guest today, Brian Thornton, the incoming WAC commissioner. And thanks everybody for listening to the WAC podcast.
Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And check out our website at wacsports.com.